hard work and determination of our area athletes. This is The Score on WQAD News 8.
Good evening and welcome to The Score Sunday. The high school postseason rolls along on both sides of the river, but tonight we'll be talking with a world champion. Monical Lieving, a 2016 Geneseo grad, recently became the World Long Drive Champion. We'll find out how she got involved in the sport and what it takes to be a long drive champion. Our FCA Story of the Week features a football player that has been making his point for a number of years. We'll let you know who this week's Score standouts are and how you can vote. And we'll preview this year's Blackhawk men's and women's basketball teams before their season tips off. But we start tonight with Monical Lieving, the current women's World Long Drive Champion.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Let me ask you a little bit about golfing in general. When did you start playing golf? When did you start enjoying the game of golf?
Yeah, so I started playing golf when I was about 12 years old. So prior to that, I was, one of those kids doing like every sport possible. I was doing soccer, I did gymnastics. And my older sister, Kelsey, she actually got involved in golf and she's 7 years older than me. So I would watch her play high school golf. She went on to play college golf as well at Wisconsin Platteville. So she was the one who kind of started golf in our family, her and my dad. And she went off to college and my dad was like, hey, do you want to try it? And I'm like, okay, we'll see, we'll see. And we practiced for a little bit and I started to like it. And so I said, okay, Dad, sign me up for a tournament. And he was like, okay, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, let's try it. And so I did one of the local like Quad City amateur junior tour events and like the little 9-hole matches. And so I did that when I was about 12, 13, and I got dead last place. I got a 17 on my very first hole at Pinnacle Country Club. It was just a disaster. And then my dad was convinced, he's like, she's not going to want to play golf anymore. And then as soon as we were done, I like hopped in his truck and I was like, sign me up for the next one.
So after recording a 17, what made you come back?
I think about it all the time. I'm like, what on earth made me actually want to come back and play golf again? I mean, because logically there's really nothing there. I think that if anyone plays golf, they understand like you could have the worst round of your life, but if you end with like one good shot, that's enough. And you're like, okay, I have to get that feeling again. I have to chase that feeling.
Once you got to college, did your game shift into a different mode as far as like, all right, this is like something I could do for a living, or something like there's something with this game of golf that I could do for a living?
Yeah, I think that, once I got to college and, my story is kind of one of the more unconventional ones for getting a Division I scholarship. I wasn't doing, all of the events where college coaches go to watch. I wasn't doing like AJGA events. And the way that I got a college scholarship was pretty true to my entire story. I basically was told by my eventual college coach, hey, if you qualify for this, international tournament in Florida, I'll watch you. And so I signed up for the Iowa and the Illinois qualifier. And my dad and we drove at like 3 a.m. to the Iowa event. It rained the whole day. It was the course that the Iowa girls had just had their state tournament at, and I had never played it before. And I actually ended up winning. So I won that event and I went to Florida and she watched me play in that event, invited me out for an official visit, and then I got a scholarship.
And while you're in college, obviously you wanted to continue to pursue golf, but did you want to try to make the LPGA tour?
I think, I would be lying if I said I never had that goal. I definitely had that goal for a long time. I think once I got into college, I really struggled with a lot of things in college. It wasn't the experience that I had hoped it would be. And I think a lot of people have that story, but we just don't hear that story as often. I really struggled with my confidence. I kind of felt like, a lot of imposter syndrome, because of my story on how I got there. At times I felt like, do I even belong here at this level? And I just struggled a lot with confidence. And, I definitely worked harder than anyone, but if for some reason it just wasn't clicking for me in college. And that's why long drive has been so rewarding for me, because it's kind of like my redemption story and I feel like myself again.
When did you start to pursue it and how does that happen?
Yes. So Again, another funny story for how I got involved in this. So, yeah, I used to watch with my dad back when it was on the Golf Channel prior to COVID, and I mean, I loved it. I loved watching it. I thought the women were amazing. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, they're so cool. Like, look at them doing this." I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. And I never actually thought that I would be competing in it. I never really like I've always been a really long hitter, even since I was young, but I had never really thought that I had that, to go actually compete because I see it on TV and I'm like, wow, like what a crazy thing. Um, and actually, so how I got into it was in 2021, I was playing in a golf scramble. A scramble is mentally easy. We'll go out and play. I'll play from the front tees. It'll be fun. So I went out and played, and it was like a 300 and some yard par four, and I actually drove the green, and I almost hit a guy, and the guy is Andrew Eigner, who is a professional long driver. He actually won the amateur world championship this year. And so he comes up to me and he's like, "Do you always hit it that far?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, whatever, I guess so." So we met up like 4 months later. I hadn't swung a club in those 4 months. And I was really nervous because I'm like, wow, I'm about to go embarrass myself because I haven't swung in 4 months and this guy thinks that I can hit it far. So we met up and he was very impressed with my speed, with no practice, just kind of where I started out. And he was like, "I genuinely think if you try this, you could be top 10 women in the world in your first year." So I then decided to try my first few long drive events that year in 2022. And I did like a handful, I did like 3 events, but I didn't have any, fitted clubs. I was hitting my playing driver. I had no idea what I was doing. And so I did 2 events and then I kind of got like confused on what I should be doing. So I was like, I don't want to do it if I'm not going to like do it and be prepared. So I kind of fell off. And my now coach, Bobby Peterson, he actually called me one day and I had never really had a phone conversation with him before. And he called me and he's like, "Hey, why did you stop competing?" And so I kind of voiced like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And he overnight shipped me a couple of long drive clubs to try. And he was like, "There's a tournament next week in Utah, next week." So I had a week. And he's like, "I really want you to come try it, like give it a chance." And so I'm like, "Okay, fine." So I go to the range like one time with these clubs. I'm making divots because these clubs are longer than a normal club. I am like,
Right.
this is about to be a disaster. I'm like, I'm about to go out there and I'm about to chunk every single one of these drivers. I ended up winning the women's division. And after that, that was the last tour event of the year. And so I was like, oh, okay, like maybe I should try this.
Mhm.
And then January of this year is when they announced that World Long Drive was back, and then that's kind of how we got here.
What kind of
Yeah.
training do you do?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of aspects to it. I think people have this, image of long drive as these like big beefy men just trying to hit the golf ball as far as they can. And in theory, that is the concept, right? That is what we're trying to do, but it is so much more than that. I think that it's one of those things where it seems really simple and then you do it yourself and you're like, oh my gosh, this is a lot. Because your technique has to be as close to perfect as possible because we don't get, 100-yard wide grid to hit into. We normally get anywhere from like 40 to 60, which is
Right.
pretty much a fairway. In regards to training, a lot of it is speed training. So, ball speed and club head speed are 2 big markers for how
Mhm.
people try to track their progress in the sport.
There's a lot of misses. How do
Yes.
you erase that from your memory and be like, all right, this next one's going to be the one that stays in the grid?
Well, the fun part, and this is the fun part about long drive, the reality of you get 6 balls in 2.5 minutes.
Mhm.
I would like to think of myself as a, elite athlete. And I'm like, Monica, hit a golf shot. You don't win a competition by getting, 3 out of 6 in the grid. You win the competition by having one ball that's the longest.
Right.
So I think it's kind of, to me, it's actually like a surplus mindset of I have 6 opportunities to hit a long ball.
What's the longest you've ever hit a golf ball? I think you were 361 or 362 at the
Mhm.
tournament, but what's the longest you've ever hit one?
Yeah. So my PR currently is 375.
Okay.
Mhm.
When you were in the competition this past week, obviously you did well to get to the championship, and it came down to she had 6 that were not in the grid, and all she had to
Yes.
do was hit one. Is that more
Yes.
pressure just to get one on the grid? Do you not swing as hard? What was your
Yeah.
mentality like?
So this is a really fun thing to discuss because people will see, oh wow, she won the World Long Drive Championships with a drive of 288 yards.
Mhm.
That was my shortest drive of the week.
Right.
So the thing, and that's the funny thing is, I think, the fun part about long drive is there is still strategy to win an event. It still takes, a certain mindset to win an event. My mindset in that moment was I cannot allow her to hit another golf ball. So, I mean, it's just kind of the mindset you have to have. And I have outdriven her before multiple times. She's outdriven me multiple times. So it was one of those things where I'm like, I could go up there and I could try to set a PR. I could try to hit it over 375, or I can do my job. I can hit a golf shot at 70% effort and win the belt.
When you stepped up and you hit that shot, as soon as you hit it, you raised your arms, you knew. I mean, did you know off as soon as you hit it off the tee that was the one, that was it?
And I hit a draw down the right side. So I knew, I mean, it was the exact shot shape that I should have hit in that moment, and I did it. And my adrenaline got to me. And I mean, I'm not a very expressive person on the grid. There are some people who are very expressive, especially if you watch the guys. And it's so funny. We were watching it back and everyone's like, Monica, look at you putting your arm up and getting all excited. So it was super fun to be in that moment. And it was also super fun to watch it back because I was sitting there like, who am I?
So, and obviously, being a golfer, you've heard the saying, "Drive for show, putt for dough." But
Yes.
can you change that to drive for show and win the
Yeah.
dough?
I love when people say that because I'm like, I don't get paid for putting, so it's like that's not gonna hurt my feelings, and it's in normal golf, totally true. Totally true.
Yes.
But also at the same time, a putt is just as important as a good drive in the fairway. So, I could reverse it back and say that too. So, I think that every shot is important in golf, not just the putt, not just the drive, all of it is important. And, I think it's no lie that I probably do drive better than I putt, because if I could putt well, we'd probably be having a different conversation. But I'm not a bad putter, but certainly if I was a great putter, I'd probably be trying to be on tour. So yeah.
Is this something you plan to pursue for as long as you can?
Yeah, definitely. I think that, long drive has made me really confident in a lot of aspects of my life. And I think that, that's why we love sports, right? It's because it's not just about winning, it's about how you grow as a person. And I think for me, I have a story that I think is, in my opinion, can be encouraging to people that have, struggled in the past with their sport. And as an adult, you try to find that love again. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on people that have seen that story and liked that story and kind of want to hear more about, how to kind of embrace that in their everyday life, because it doesn't have to just be sports. It can be any sort of passion. And I think that I want to pursue it as long as I can and as long as, the universe allows me to. And, I'm definitely in love with it and want to do it as long as I can. So